Well, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you probably know that I'm a cheapskate. Life is getting more expensive, and any extra money I have left is better spent on solid investments than on new motorcycles. Now, having said that, all of my motorcycles are new, but motorcycle YouTubers buy shiny new toys to get views, which then end up paying for the toys. The bikes my wife and I own are not that expensive. All three of them cost about as much as one CVO, but they're not that cheap either. My Tenere 700 with all the accessories was pushing 17,000 Canadian, which is maybe equal to 13k American, a relative deal for an accessorized adventure bike. Certainly if I didn't have this channel, I'd be more conservative with my motorcycle purchases and would probably ride far less expensive used bikes. Which ones would they be? Well, there's a lot of used bikes out there, but if it was me, I'd go for something Japanese. Why? Reliability, convenience, price. And there's a ton of them on the market. In this video, let's go over some of the best choices on the used bike market, Japanese and otherwise, in every motorcycling category. It's amazing what you can get out there if you're willing to get it used. So let's go looking, and if you find this information valuable, please hit those like and subscribe buttons to support the channel. Perhaps the best used deals out there are on the Japanese cruisers from the year 2000 to the late 2010s. These are the same bikes I spoke about in my last video on the best middleweight cruisers, link in upper right corner. These Honda Shadows and Magnas, Yamaha V-Stars, Suzuki Boulevards, and Kawasaki Vulcans are selling for peanuts. If you bought one of these bikes, you got to cruise on a budget, but sure didn't come close to getting your money back when you sold it again. But if you want to cruise on a budget now while looking good and enjoying the benefits of rock-solid Japanese engineering, $4,000 or $5,000 is all you need. Am I saying that these bikes will never break down on you? No. But cruisers tend to be purchased by older riders who have little to prove, so the chances that these bikes have had the stuffings kicked out of them is lower than equally old sport bikes or dual sports. You've got bikes here from 650 to 1900cc for rock bottom prices. Pick a low mileage example, mount up, and enjoy your summer. Don't necessarily expect to get your investment back when you sell, but $4,000 is what melts off your brand new Harley the minute you pull out of the dealership parking lot. So in the used market, you get the most for your money here. But if you want to go touring, either at extra legal or leisurely speeds, there are some excellent choices as well. Honda in particular has a long history of very reliable touring bikes. Few engine configurations sound as cool as a V4, and Honda VFRs have been around for ages in a wide range of displacements, with the most common recent models running 800 and 1200cc. The VFR 800 in particular had a brilliant reputation as a reliable bike with pretty good sporty performance. For more comfort, the ST1100 and later the ST1300 are highly valued sport tours with longitudinally mounted engines and shaft drives capable of munching long miles two up and also tearing up a twisty road. Other bikes like the Yamaha FJR 1300 and Kawasaki Concours are also good choices if you can find them, but the fact that I keep seeing so many used Hondas on the market with well over 100,000 kilometers on them is testament to their reliability. Another Honda tourer that often goes up for sale with even higher mileage is the Goldwing. No surprise, this is the granddaddy of large touring bikes with a flat six engine that will outlast Continental Drift. The sheer number of these on the used market drives down prices. Oh, and this giant engine was also shoehorned into a cruiser named the Valkyrie. And if you fancy big, fast, multi-cylinder power cruisers but can't afford a Rocket 3, give these a look. What vehicles give you the absolutely highest horsepower to weight per dollar ratio? Used sport bikes. Fireblades, Ninjas, R1s, 6s, and so on. It's hard to believe that for $5,000 or $6,000 you can buy a vehicle that will run with modern supercars, but you totally can. And the bike that most exemplifies the insanity of this era is the early 2000s Suzuki GSX-R 1000. Relatively light and rated at 160 horsepower at the crank, this bike lit the sport bike world on fire by running 10-second quarter miles and topping out at 173 miles per hour or 278 kilometers per hour. And if you're thinking, so what, we have 200 horsepower bikes now. That 160 showed up more than 20 years ago and came with no traction control and one rider mode, the Widowmaker. Put this in perspective, these bikes didn't get ABS until 2017, and if there's any bike that needed ABS, it was the Gixxer 1000. Needless to say, if you're buying any of these, don't expect them to be pristine. These were not owned by mature riders, I should know. You'd also better be an expert and save some pennies to pay for your insurance costs if you can even get the thing insured. Many companies don't want to go anywhere near these bikes, which is why they end up as track day weapons, which is exactly where they belong. Speaking of sport bikes, you don't have to commit to a hard-edged crotch rocket if you want to have some sporty fun. You could go for a Suzuki Bandit or any number of softer Japanese inline 4s, or for less than the price of a 300 beginner bike, the granddaddy of today's 650cc class, the Suzuki SV650. A few years back there was a ton of these on the market, but these days they seem to have dried up. These V-twins are superbly fun with their torquey engines and have a cousin called the Gladius, which can be had for a song because of its aesthetic deficiencies. She ain't much to look at, but she's fun to ride. And so we get to the used bikes which are perhaps not the greatest deals on the market, adventure bikes and dual sports. Adventure bikes are such a hot segment in the motorcycling world right now that even Harley-Davidson, Aprilia and Ducati have brand new off-road capable adventure models. And that's why every owner of a used adventure motorcycle knows that they're sitting on a goldmine, and if they're even thinking about selling, will demand top dollar plus a kidney. In terms of what's available, the 2005 to 2007 BMW R1200 GS is sort of a sweet spot as it is the lightest big GS model in recent history. It's a 1200cc air-cooled bike that weighs less than 500 pounds, which is in the neighborhood of today's Ducati Desert X, a middleweight adventure bike. I've actually seen a few of these on the market for prices that were not outrageous. There are also KTM Adventures and older Triumph Tigers that can be had for reasonable amounts, but the KTMs have reliability issues and the older Triumph Tigers were basically sport tours in disguise and so are not recommended. Unfortunately, most recent used adventure bikes will cost you a pretty penny with a few Japanese exceptions. There's the occasional Honda Transalp. Go for an earlier model, as the 2008 and later bikes were basically glorified street bikes, though to be truthful, the earlier ones were just passable off-road. Also, the Africa Twin has been out long enough to be available at a discount here and there. As well, there are plenty of Suzuki V-Stroms and they have the same bulletproof engine as the SV650. The one adventure bike that can always be found for decent prices is the Kawasaki KLR 650. Slow, ponderous, with crappy suspension and a balancer chain adjuster lever that has a reputation for disintegrating and pooching your engine, this is truly one of the greatest motorcycles ever built. And to top it all off, the only accessory you'll ever need is a milk crate. The landscape for dual sports is even more hurting than the adventure bike scene, as the price of any used motorcycle with a 21 and 18-inch wheel combination is approaching the price of the Hope Diamond. It seems that everyone wants to be out on the trails all of a sudden, and good luck tracking down a new trail or enduro bike. And used ones are often the price of new ones, or even more expensive. Yep, everyone selling a motorcycle shod with knobbies, whether it's street legal or not, knows they have you bent over a barrel and they're positioning themselves for maximum gain. If you're looking for a decent dual sport, the old standby, the Honda CRF 250L, is the most numerous and reasonably priced option. Another option is the Kawasaki KLX 250. I know that viewers will pipe in with the DRZ 400, but I've seen 13-year-old DRZs for the prices of new ones. It's ridiculous out there. Still reasonable are a few DR650s, though be warned, these are far from hardcore off-roaders. They'll get you down the highway or the trail, but the trail better not be too gnarly. Finally, we get to the luxury brands, and here it gets tougher. If you want to pick up a Harley, they do fetch a premium, but there are so many in North America at least that occasionally some old-timer just wants to get rid of one and puts it up for a good price. No guarantee that the bike is in good mechanical condition, but there are a lot of mechanics out there and a lot of older Harleys still chugging around North American roads. Even though they aren't cheap, used Harleys are still a far better deal than new ones, especially since many of them come with accessories like pipes, which you were going to get anyways. As for Ducatis, BMWs, Aprilias and Triumphs, they tend to hold their value well, so expect to pay a premium and be careful about reliability. What about Japanese bikes? Which ones are not a good deal on the used market right now? I do see several models that are greatly overpriced. Because the Tenere 700 came out not long ago and new ones are hard to come by, used ones tend to cost more than new right now. Also, since Yamaha just discontinued the WR250R, they are popping up on the used market for new bike prices. And the Yamaha MT-07 tends to be quite expensive on the used market. Might as well buy new. Damn, those Yamahas are holding their value all of a sudden. As do many Hondas, like the NC750. I know the market will vary wherever you are, and not all I've said will apply to your part of the world. But one piece of advice is universal. Do your research, acquire at least a little bit of mechanical know-how, and buy private sale. Yes, there's more work buying this way, but you save a lot because you're not going through a middleman. Learn how to wheel and deal with private sales and you'll keep a lot more cash in your pocket, buying and selling. Now I know I'm going to get a ton of comments that I forgot this or that specific model. I know I did, but I didn't want to put out an hour-long video. If there's an excellent used model that you know of, please share in the comments. The spring is finally here and we're out on the roads and trails again. I've got a lot planned, including a week with the new KLR 650 and, in honor of the new Top Gun movie, the H2SX, plus a few Yamahas and Hondas as well. So stay tuned to the channel and enjoy your spring riding.
If you're interested in any of the gear that Brooke and I wear or use, or the camera equipment we use to film this channel, the links are below. Everything listed there was bought with our own money and we are not sponsored by any company. However, the links below are affiliate links and the channel is paid a small amount for referring you to shop at no additional cost to you. We do not recommend any products that we are not satisfied with ourselves, but we do strongly urge you to do your research and select the correct size for items like helmets and clothing. As always, thanks for watching, your support is greatly appreciated. Please hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up and leave a comment below. And whatever you ride, enjoy it. Wave at other bikers no matter what they're riding, we're all part of a brotherhood and sisterhood. Keep the rubber side down, shiny side up, and may the spokes be with you.